Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Critical Reading and Writing. Today is our first materials for this semester. We will take the topic of critical reading and critical thinking. How the relations between critical thinking and critical reading. Okay, why do we need to study about critical reading and related to the critical writing? Because critical thinking is a kind of a precondition for critical reading. So we should know about critical thinking first. So what is a critical thinking? Critical thinking is kind of good thinking. Yeah? It is not a bad thinking. Why is it good? Because it is a kind of deep thinking, not a surface thinking. In a deep thinking, you need some more sophisticated way of thinking. You need to be able to analyze and you need to be able to evaluate. So to do analyzing and to do evaluations, you need to include the mental process, such as pay attention, and then you have to be able to categorization for selections and the judgment. And critical thinking is included in a kinds of high order thinking skill. You can check on the Bloom theory of cognitive level. Critical thinking belongs to the high order critical thinking. High order critical thinking is the level of cognitive levels from the analysis into the creating. Okay, so according to Bloom's cognitive level, critical thinking is not just knowing or understanding or implementing. It also related to analyzing and synthesizing, evaluating and making. Next, what about the relations of critical thinking and critical reading? The same critical readings require you not just read for pleasure. You need to pay attention on the text. You have to focus your attention much more closely on a certain part of written text and holding that information in your mind. And then the same like a critical thinking, it involves the ability to analyze it, to reflect and to evaluate, and also making a judgment. And then a critical reading needs what we call as a slower reading, because you have to pay much attention, you have to read in detail, so it needs a patience to read slowly, to read closely. Okay, so it is not just reading for a pleasure, but it is a kind of reading for certain purposes. And then what skill and attitude do you need to have a critical reading? You have to be able to first identify the other people's position, arguments and conclusion. Because as we know that the text is not independent of people's opinion, so when people make a text, they always use a certain point of view. That is what we call as a people position. And then to defend that position, to defend that point of view, people will give the arguments and evidence and then give the conclusion. And then to be able to read critically, you need to be able to evaluate the evidence for the alternative points of view. And also you have to be able to weighting your opposing argument and evidence fairly. It means that you have to evaluate the arguments and evaluate the evidence. Yeah. Next, you have to be able to read between the line, or it means that you have to be able to read the implied meaning. Yeah, seeing behind the surface and identifying false or unfair assumption. And then you need to recognize the technique, yeah, to make a certain position or more appealing than others. And then you need to be able to reflect on a certain issue in a very structured way, in a very systematic way, and then able to bring the logic and insight. And then to read critically, you need to draw conclusions, about the arguments, whether the argument is valid or not, whether the evidence is good or not, whether the assumption is sensible or not. And then also you have to be able to present your points of view in a very structured and clear, well-read way that convince the other. Now, the benefits of critical reading. In a critical reading, you will be mature in giving your attention and observations. You will well trained in focusing on detail, and you will be able to have a good observation skill. Next, you will be more focused on reading. You will not be easily abstracted by the for example, by the hoax, by the false news, etc. You will be focused, and then it will improve your ability to identify the main idea of the tag. Then you will be able to identify the relevant information rather than you distracted by some unimportant information. And then you have the ability to respond and give appropriate points. And then you have the you will be able to get the knowledge about how to get the point, how to get the point easily from the tag. And then you have a benefit from critical reading is that you will be able to analyze. You will have a analyzing skill, so you can apply that kinds of analyzing skill in many kinds of different situation. Now, what do you need to be able to read critically? The first is skepticism. Skepticism here means you have to be doubt. You have to be not easily believe on something. And then you need the arguments. You need the arguments, because critical reading will always deal with the arguments, and then you have to be able to reason. You need to be able to reasoning. Okay. First, skepticism. What is skepticism? So skepticism here, we call it also the polite doubt. What is polite doubt? Polite doubt doesn't mean you have to distrust everything. You have to you don't have to believe on everything. No, that is not a polite doubt. Polite doubt here means that you see the reality as a part of the picture. You see the reality in a certain perspective. So when you have a skepticism, you will, for example, if you get an information, you will not believe immediately. No, you have to wait and see. You have to check and recheck. You have to see the reality in a distance. You have to see the text in a distance. You will not get involved in the text, or you will not be easily influenced by the text, because you have to doubt the text by always have a check and recheck on the truth of the text. And then the last, you have to be objective. In skepticism, because you are in a distance, you will be objective. You will not be subjective. Subjective here means that you are too involved with the text, so you will be easily to be influenced by the text. Now next, the argument. You have to differentiate here between arguments and disagreement. Okay, argument can be started from the disagreement, but argument is not a total disagreement. Okay, and then arguments include a points of view, okay, different from disagreement. And then here the agreements to concur with someone else's points of view. Here we have to clarify some terms in the argument. First is the position, it is kinds of points of view, and then the agreement when you agree with someone else, and then disagreement when you hold a different point of view from someone else. So the argument here is not just an agreement or not a disagreement. Argument is using reasons to support the points of view so that you know unknown audience may be persuaded to agree. The key terms for the argument is the use of reason. Yeah, the use of reasons. So when you use the reason, you will not be easily disagree on everything, no, or agree with everything, no. You have reasons to defend a certain point of view, or you have reasons to reject some points of view. And then the main objective of argument is to persuade the other, to agree with you. That is the argument. So back again, the arguments need first reasons, and then you need a points of view, and then the last argument should be persuaded other to agree. So an argument may include the disagreement, but is more than simply disagreement if it is based on the reasons. So argument can be disagreement, but it is based on the reason, and it aims to persuade other. Disagreement can be not based on the reason. Yeah, disagreement can be without any reason at all. Okay, but argument must have reasoning, and it must be designed to persuade other. Now take example to make it easy to differentiate between arguments, agreement, disagreements, and positions. First is the position. For example, there is a text: genetic engineering really worries me. I don't think it should be allowed. So it is a kind of position. It is a kind of points of view. When someone seeing that genetic engineering is a worrying, is a threatening, so he don't agree with the development of genetic engineering. Now agreement can be, I don't know much about genetic engineering, but I agree with you. So in this example, someone can agree although without any reasons. Next, agreement type 2 can be, I know lots about this subject and I agree with you. Now here someone agree with that position but no reason at all, just simply giving an agreement. Next, disagreement. That doesn't convince me. I think genetic engineering is really exciting. Okay, this is disagreements, but no reasons are given, so it is simply a disagreement. Yeah, people don't agree with that position that genetic engineering is very threatening, but he didn't give any reason. That is disagreement. While the argument can be, for example, this one: genetic engineering should be curtailed because there hasn't been sufficient research into what happens when new varieties are created without natural predators to hold them in check. The blue one is the position, is the position, while the red one here is the arguments, okay, as the reason. Sorry, the red one here is the reason. So genetic engineering should be curtailed. It shows the position. It shows the positions that genetic engineering is okay. Next, why is it okay? there will be a reason. The reason is because there hasn't been sufficient research into what happened when new varieties are created. Argument 2 can be like this. All part of the argument 2 are are in red. It means that the position is implied. Yeah, the position is implied. In argument type 2 here, it is not stated. The position is not stated, but you can read between the line. You can know the positions from the reasoning here. The possibility for improving health and longevity through genetic engineering overhope to sufferers of many conditions that currently don't have an effective cure. We should be pushing ahead to help these people as quickly as we can. So from this reasoning, we can know that in argument 2, the positions is that people don't agree with the positions. Yeah? He doesn't see that genetic engineering is threatening. Yeah? So because it is able to improve the health and longevity. Yeah, it give a hope. It give a hope for the future. Okay, I think that's all for today. If you have questions, I would like happy to answer it. After this, try to do the exercise. Yeah. The exercise is differentiating between the disagreement and argument. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.